Welcome back to News 3 Today. It is not Friday, but it is time for another installment of Historic Happenings with Savannah content creator, tour guide, author, TikTok queen, lover of all things spooky, all the things, Enocha Edenfield. She joins us now. And today's topic, we are talking about Victorian garden cemeteries. It's so funny because when you think of cemeteries, you don't think, oh, this is a beautiful place that I'd like to go to and take a walk and have lunch, but that is in fact what people are doing in Savannah.
Yeah, and it's a historic precedent. Bonaventure Cemetery, that most of us are familiar with because of its involvement with Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, was founded as a Victorian garden cemetery in the 1840s. The Victorians, you know, I joked last December when I was back here that they were kind of like weird goth kids.
Yeah.
They revolutionized and romanticized death, dying, and the mourning process. And they would spend a lot of time out in cemeteries, one, taking care of their family's graves, but two, also using it as a park because the Victorians started to get really interested in spending outside time in nature. But if you lived in a city, there weren't that many parks back then, so they used cemeteries as parks. And they would go out to Bonaventure and make a whole day of it. They would bring picnic lunches out there, walk around, read books, and people still do that today.
And it's really interesting because when you look at it that way, it makes it a more beautiful experience, you know, because when you think of death and dying in cemeteries, you don't think of beauty and nature and just calmness.
Right. Funny story about Bonaventure, there was a naturalist named John Muir, and he's actually responsible for part of our state park system and national park system, and he actually camped out in Bonaventure Cemetery in the 1860s, and he called it a city of the dead. But he also talked about how much life there was in the city of the dead, and how there was all this beautiful wildlife and plant life out there, and we still have that today.
And it is also known as one of the most beautiful cemeteries in the world. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, and we get visitors there all the time. I say we because I volunteer with the Bonaventure Historical Society, and they are actually in the process of doing a membership drive. They ask for membership every year, and members get a newsletter. They get access to some of the talks that we have out there. And we are also looking for volunteers, people to help out at the visitor center and help out with the gardens out there as well.
Let's talk about some of the more famous people buried there, because there are a lot.
Oh yeah. Johnny Mercer,
yes,
co-founder of Capitol Records and prolific songwriter, is buried out there. Conrad Aiken, who is a U.S. Poet Laureate, is buried out there. Mary Telfair, who was on my shirt, she left her home to become the Telfair Academy, which was the first public art museum in the South, and she left money to start the Telfair Women's and Children's Hospital, which was the first hospital in Savannah dedicated to the health care of women and children.
Now, we also want to talk a little bit about the Colonial Cemetery.
Yes, so Colonial Park Cemetery in town actually got the park name.
That's interesting, Colonial Park Cemetery.
Right. It wasn't called that initially, but it got that name when it was turned into a park in the 1890s. Because, again, Victorians really liked their parks, and they had stopped burying people there in the 1850s, but this was prime real estate. It was the middle of downtown. So they decided to convert it into a park, which is cool. But they also kind of pulled up some headstones to make way for the pathways out there. So if you walk out there, you know the brick wall that has the headstones. Some of those headstones were moved there to make way for the walkways.
Oh, not a good idea.
No.
Not a good idea at all. Okay, so if folks want to find out more information about these cemeteries or anything really related to Savannah and its history, little tidbits that, you know, I've lived here all my life, did not know these things. Where can they find you?
They can find me online on TikTok, Saltwaves Spanish Moss, on Instagram, Enocha Edenfield. They can find my website, enochaedenfieldtours.com. And if they're interested in finding out more about the Bonaventure Historical Society, they can go to bonaventurehistorical.org.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Next time on a Friday, right? We just kind of mixed up the days this time. Okay. Thank you. Stay with us. We'll be right back with a final check of your forecast.